In the Money is made possible by financial support from Old National Bank and Chicagoans like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to In the Money. I'm your host, Kimberly Loftus, a CPA and financial executive who today is financially secure but was not always. As you know, the beginning of my financial journey was a rocky one. When I was growing up, my parents never talked to me about money. It was something that just wasn't done at the time. Due to this lack of knowledge, I stumbled out of the gate in college with credit card debt. As a parent, I did not want my child to repeat my mistakes. When I look into her eyes, I want to give her the world. However, the world can be hard sometimes, and no matter how much love you give, you must also provide tools for them to use when you're not around. That is why it is crucial to teach children about money at an early age so they can be well prepared and have a positive financial journey as they grow into adulthood. I wanted my kid to have financial freedom and security, so I have been having money talks with my daughter since she was a toddler. We talk about earning it, saving it, and spending it in a way that doesn't scare her, so when it's time for her to get her own money, she'll be able to handle it and have the life I envision for her. What parent wouldn't want that? Teaching kids about money is only one part of it. We also must make sure that if disaster strikes, our kids don't automatically struggle, since we can no longer provide like we once did. So we must have the proper level of insurance, such as renters, property, disability, and life insurance. So today, let's talk about kids and money. Talking to kids about money is an important part of their financial education. Starting early and keeping the conversation open and age appropriate can help children develop a good financial habit and make better financial decisions as they grow up. Joining me in the living room today is a special guest, my soon-to-be 13-year-old daughter, Sienna. We'll be talking to her about her understanding of money and how she manages her finances. Welcome to the show, Sienna. I know it may be a little weird talking to your mother on air, but we can do this. So, tell me, what do you know about money?
Well, you've taught me a lot, and I know that you should not spend it like crazy. You shouldn't spend it whenever you think you should, if it's not like something you really need. Like if it's a want, and I myself had to start doing better at that.
Well, you're still growing into it. So let's talk about, you're not going to completely remember your toddler years, but some of the things that we do as a family when we talk about money, like when we go to the grocery store. Can you give me an example of what we do?
Like if there's two things that are the same thing, basically, like an orange or something, but they're from different brands, then you would want to get the cheaper one.
Okay. And how do we know it's cheaper from one or the other?
Because you look at the price before you just pick it up.
But what about things that are in multiples? Like that's just one orange versus another orange. How about a jar of peanut butter that's 16 ounces and a jar of peanut butter that's 24 ounces? How do you know which one's cheaper?
Well, of course you got to look at the price, but then you've got to be like, how much will I need?
What about the per ounce prices on the label in the grocery store?
Yeah.
If that one's cheaper, that's the better one, right? So we kind of do that kind of math, and then we do the checkout, we do kind of the math. And then how do you use allowance?
I use it on things that I want to get, like I save my money and then I can get that stuff.
Okay. So when we go back to learning about money, did you learn anything in school about money? Or is it only at home?
I learned how to count.
I think that's true. You learned 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6 how to count, and then how to add. What about, they give you any money lessons in school?
No.
And so the only way you're going to learn about money is right now is through your family, correct? Or if you want to learn about it on your own.
Yeah.
So going back to your allowance, do you earn your allowance or just given to you?
Well, every week you give me my money, and then I can also earn it by, like, it's going to snow tomorrow, so if it's not that bad, I can shovel and maybe make some money.
Okay.
Or I could find some different chores that I could do and make some money too.
Do you save any of your money that you earn?
Yeah.
What are you saving for?
I want to save for my own headphones.
What kind of headphones?
The ones on my birthday list.
Yes, I know what headphones you're talking about. And so how do you decide to spend something? Like that's not something that you want. You have to. It's so expensive. You have to save for it. But something like candy or things like that.
The last time I wanted to get something, I really had to think about it. Like that gift card I wanted. I was thinking about it because I was doing the math and I was like, I have this much left, but I'll get this much next week.
So for your online gaming, you use gift cards?
Yeah.
And so you use portion your allowance or your earnings to buy those gift cards?
Yep.
And how do you manage that? Do you feel like your age, sometimes you are impulsive and you want to buy it, but you don't really need it?
Yeah, because on the game, I had that money, that in-game money, right? And it's kind of hard to save it like it is kind of hard to save when you want something.
So how do you balance that out at your 12, soon to be 13-year-old age?
I think about, am I really going to put this on my avatar? Or am I just going to let it sit there in my inventory forever without using it?
Okay, so you make a conscious decision of something that is it kind of like a need from a gaming perspective or just a want? Okay, so how do you define money? What is money to you? What does that mean?
Something valuable.
And something valuable, that means you can turn it into something valuable with that money?
Yeah.
And do you look at your money the same way you look at mommy's money? Whose money is more valuable?
Probably yours.
Well, I think it's the same. It has the same value, so why would mine be more valuable than yours?
Because you need it when you get older, so you can retire and
That
not
is
have to
very
worry
true.
about money.
That is very true. Very forward-looking at your young age, girl. I didn't know you were paying that much attention. So yes, mommy needs money to retire, but you at a young age need money just to live as you grow older.
Yeah.
So that's what you define money as. Money has some type of value, and that you know that you can earn money, you can save money. What else can you do with money?
I mean, if you have enough, you can actually go and buy stuff you want. Because if you keep saving and saving, one day you'll have enough to get that car you want or that whatever you want.
Aren't you a little bit young to be talking about cars?
You said I'm getting a car in like 3 years. It'll be fine.
Okay. Don't throw my own words back at me.
Yeah.
So what about giving to the community? Is that something you can do with money?
Yeah, you can donate it. Like,
And how do you keep track of your money that you're earning and getting an allowance? I saw you had a calendar. What are you doing with that calendar?
I put it up in my room and track my allowance for each Monday. And I think about how much will I have in 3 weeks? How much will I have in 2 weeks?
And what about does that go into when you come to mommy and say, hey, can I do that to earn some extra dollars? Does that play a point into that?
Yep.
So you have kind of like a plan, like older people have a budget, and so you have like a mini budget?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so you can do community, you can give, you can save, and you can spend. That's what you can do with money. Any tips that you can give anyone else out there for your age?
Well, I'd say just don't spend your money crazily so you can, when you really want something or think you need something, you can get it yourself.
Okay. Do you prioritize your spending? Like do you know what's most important to you?
The things that I'll need later on.
Is that like because we also want money to be fun. So I don't want you at 13, like, oh my God, I gotta save on this dollar.
I mean, it's not like I always, sometimes I have my own times where I'm like, oh, I really want this, so I'm gonna get it.
Okay.
And sometimes I might spend without thinking.
Okay. And so you want to work on not spending when you're not thinking.
Yeah.
What we call impulsive purchases.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea why you do that sometimes?
Because I just feel the need to.
Yeah, so it's emotional purchasing. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's not uncommon for someone your age. As you get older, you'll have the tools better to kind of control that. But you're still young. You got plenty of time. But what tips would you give people your age about your lessons so far about money?
Well, you shouldn't think you should get paid for everything. You shouldn't get paid for cleaning your room. You shouldn't get paid for making your bed or whatever. You should get paid for shoveling the snow when not asked or something like that, or picking up your dog's poop or something.
So what would you give a tip around impulsive purchasing as someone your age? How do you handle that? It's like you're not going to be perfect because you're still learning and growing, but what has worked for you when you were able to tamp it down?
Just like really think hard about it and try to think yourself out of it.
So maybe a tip might be take 10 seconds and count down and say, hey, do I really need this?
Yeah. Or I just distract myself sometimes from thinking about that and go do something else.
Well, thank you for joining me today. This has been special, Sienna, for joining your mom today, and I really appreciate it. And I love you.
Love you too.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton, host of Behind the Confident Smile. Tune in on Fridays at 7 p.m. as I interview women about the challenges they overcame.
We now know that teaching kids about money is only one part of giving them financial stability. The other part is to make sure they are protected from the unexpected, and one way to do that is to have the proper level of insurance. Join us in the living room now is Flora Digby, tax strategist and financial literacy guru, is going to talk with us about insurance. Welcome to the show, Flora.
Thank you for having me, Kimberly. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, well, thank you. So as you can see from the previous segment, we talked to my daughter, Sienna, about her understanding about money. But that's not the only way to protect our loved ones. We also need to think about insurance. What types of insurance are out there?
There are many types of insurance. I mean, if you think about it, you've got medical insurance, life insurance, automobile insurance. So there are different types of insurances that you can actually invest in to keep your family safe.
And so what exactly is insurance? Like, what does that do?
So I think of insurance as a safety net. I think of it as an opportunity to invest in your family and to invest in your future.
Oh, I like that. So but it's not only, so it's investment, not only protection? Like you said, a safety net is like two things?
I think it could be both, because if you think about it from a holistic perspective, and you think about preventive medicine, your medical insurance gives you an opportunity to have your medical visits, things that you know you're going to need, glasses, braces, but then it also gives you an opportunity to invest in the future for unforeseen injuries or illnesses.
Okay, so from a medical insurance standpoint, that protects your families from unreasonable hospital bills.
Yes.
I should say unreasonable, but just emergencies, and you have this big expense. The insurance has negotiated with different carriers to kind of lower those expenses on your behalf?
Yes, and it depends on, for example, an entrepreneur may pay a little more for insurance than a larger organization because, of course, when you have many more employees, you have an opportunity to divide that amount up with smaller pieces. So it just really depends on entrepreneur versus employee, but insurance is truly an investment in yourself in today and in tomorrow.
Okay, so medical insurance allows you to do preventive care to prevent some catastrophe medically, and then also if you have an injury, it protects your other assets because you have insurance to cover those costs.
That's correct.
Now, what about life insurance?
Life insurance is another item that I think is very critical, and what we do is we actually talk to our children about that, but we use life events to talk to them about that. So, for example, if a family member passes, that's an awesome opportunity to talk about how their services are paid for, how their the items that are outstanding in their lives are handled. And so we help them understand that the purpose for insurance is to help pay for the services, to help settle any items that they have, but to also provide some type of financial foundation for the family when that person's gone. That could be the actual income earner in that family that passes.
I know in my case, I have life insurance not only to cover, because we're all gonna, meet our maker one day for that, but also, God forbid that, my daughter doesn't have the money for college. So then, I got enough, not only to cover the minimum, but the other things that I envision for her future. Is that something that you would recommend for people to think about? Hey, what do I want for my family, and make sure their insurance covers that if they're able?
Most definitely. You want to think about things that are happening today, and you want to think about the future. So in leaving a pretty decent policy, and sometimes people think about 1.5 times their actual income they're making today.
Okay.
But it depends on the age of your beneficiaries. It depends on where they are in their lives. For example, your daughter, she's not even in college yet. So you want to think about college and educational expenses. If you have an older child, you want to think about maybe assisting them as their family grows. Maybe they're interested in purchasing a home, or maybe they're in that position where they're starting to have children. So it just really depends on what your family structure is and what their potential may be in the future.
So a lot of times when we think about insurance, we think about death, we think about medical insurance. What about disability insurance? Because most people don't die from an accident, they actually end up being disabled.
And for disability insurance, you can think about it short-term disability versus long-term disability. Sometimes when we have surgeries and we need to have a period of time off, you can actually use short-term disability for that. You may have a position where you have to be a care provider. And so sometimes you may need short-term disability, because what you want to do is make sure that there's still income coming in to cover your expenses, to make sure that your expenses are paid for, your mortgage, make sure that you have money actually to live on, as opposed to a catastrophic situation happening now. You know, you have no income coming in. You can't sustain yourself. You can't sustain your family.
Okay, and then you mentioned mortgage insurance. What about renter's insurance?
So it depends on if you're either renting or you're actually purchasing a home, because there's two different types of insurances. So your renter's insurance is truly critical just to cover your personal items within your residence. But when you talk about actually owning a home, now you're not only talking about those personal items within that home, but you're also insuring the structure as well. So it depends on whether or not you're a renter or you're an owner, but that type of insurance is critical as well.
Now, a lot of people believe that if I'm a renter and something happens to the property, the landlord is responsible, but it's my understanding that's not true. You really need a renter's insurance to cover those personal items.
You definitely need a renter's insurance, and that's information that we should share, and we shouldn't make an assumption that people know. That's something that I've learned lately, and that I'm using knowledge as my legacy to leave to my family and friends, to share those things, because we just make assumptions that people know the difference between renter and homeowners, and even knowing the need for insurance as a whole.
Now, auto insurance is something that's required by the state. Are there any other insurance policies that people should be looking at?
I think if you're an entrepreneur, you want to definitely think about insurance as well. And it depends on the type of business you're in. If you're a cosmetologist, a hairstylist, you need to think about insurance, because you want to be very careful when you're using different chemicals on individuals' hair. If you have a construction company, you want to think about insurance in case there are any accidents on the job site. But you also want to think about the fact that there's warranties on some of the work that you do. So depending on what area you're in, different insurances are truly beneficial in your life. And I always go back to that. It's just an awesome safety net to help you prepare for the things that you know may come, and then the unforeseen things that come up.
Now, who should they talk to about insurance to make sure that they're getting the best fit for their situation?
I think it depends on the type of insurance, but you want to speak to someone that is knowledgeable. We have many people out here that have purchased insurance on their own, but they may not have enough knowledge to talk to you in your specific situation. So you want to make sure that there's someone that's been in the industry for a period of time, that they have that background, they have sufficient clients where they've actually experienced different situations. It's critical that you go to someone that has resources, someone that has knowledge, and making sure that you actually even get a second opinion. Just if you were doing a medical visit, second opinion is always good.
So when I'm planning to get my insurance, what should I include in that plan? You mentioned earlier about 1.5 times my income. We also talked about thinking about the future for your family.
Yes.
What else should I put into that plan when I'm thinking about what insurance and how much I should buy?
So when I'm thinking about insurance, I'm thinking about things holistically and your financial plan for your family. So I'm thinking about your budget. I'm thinking about what you can afford at this time and what you may need to graduate into a little down the ways. So think about the income that's coming in. Think about the earners. Think about what would happen or what you need to do to sustain your lifestyle at this time. Those are the critical issues that you need to put into play when you're thinking about the level of insurance that you need to purchase and the different types of insurance that you need to purchase.
Any tips you would give our viewers out there?
I would say talk about it early. For whatever reason, insurance has a taboo. No one wants to talk about insurance. I can remember as a child, there was the insurance guy came to the home, and my mom and dad sat at the table and talked with them, but we were not involved. And so when we got older, I'm like, what is this insurance animal? So to me, I think the earliest age that you can really start talking about insurance and that a child would understand it, anywhere between 6th and 8th grade. Because now they're at that point where you can start talking to them about money. You can talk to them about planning and about budgets, and you can use life examples to help them understand these are the things that they're going to need in the future, and these are the things that are a part of the family structure now.
Now, one last note. So we've talked about insurance. How do wills fall into that when we talk about insurance?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Unfortunately, many people do not have wills. And so, unfortunately, their property, their personal items may go into probate. And that simply means that it's going to have to now go through the judicial process. That could take time. And so you want to make sure that you plan for that. So you want to have, and we mostly call it a living will. It's not very structured, but you simply want to put down what your desires are. You want to put down who you want the house to go to or how you want the house handled. You want to make sure that all those things are handled up front, because when your family is grieving, the last thing they want to think about is what were your wishes. They may not remember that. So it's critical that you plan things up front, and definitely you want to have a will in place.
Thank you so much. Those are wonderful tips and gives a lot of thought to those things that we'll all will experience sometime in the future. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hi, I'm Corey Timms, host of In My Own Words. Tune in this Friday at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 19 as we hear the personal journeys of some of Chicago's most influential leaders.
Okay, everyone, today we're in for a special treat. He was such a hit last time that I had to invite him back to the studio to share more great information about money matters with you. Please welcome back Ben Juergens from Old National Bank. Hi, Ben. Thanks for being here. What are some things we can do to teach kids about money when it comes to what banks or other financial institutions have to offer?
Yeah, thanks, Kimberly. It's good to be back. So, we at banks and financial institutions, I will just say we love to go out and volunteer within our communities. And a big piece of that is going to the school system. You know, not every school teaches things about money in the classroom. So many of them rely on banks and financial institutions to go there. So whether it's using FDIC material that's out there, and many banks now create their own curriculum like we do, to really build that partnership with the schools that we already have that connection with, but get into the classroom to not only help support the teacher, but also share these insights with kids from all ages, from pre-K up to the adult level.
Now, what do you mean by FDIC?
Yeah, so the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Company, they have their own curriculum that's out there for banks, and really anybody can use it. It's completely free. And then you'll see a lot of financial institutions develop their own curriculum. For us, we call ours real life finance. It's one of those things that we put together to really drive those key principles that we see in real life. So, partnering with banks, financial institutions, there's a lot of useful information that we can share with kids at a very young age.
And we say young age, how low do you go?
Yeah, so we go from pre-K all the way up to senior in high school, and then college and adult, of course, as well. But broken down by that pre-K through second, third through fifth, middle school and high school.
Okay. So you saw the segment that we talked about kids and money, and as well as insurance. What outside of banks going to the school itself, what other ways are available to help?
Yeah, so banks get pretty innovative sometimes when it comes to money. I know in my hometown in Evansville, we will host an event called Realityopolis that we partner with the Girl Scouts with. And kids will come in, they'll draw a job, they'll tell them whether or not they have children, whether they're single or married, and then they'll have to go around the entire platform to say, I maybe have to buy this, or I want to buy a house, I need to get insurance. And then they quickly realize that money doesn't grow on trees, right? And money goes very quickly, especially depending on our income situation. So there's events like that where we bring people, into the bank themselves. We have online programs too, where they can go online through the computer and learn on their own, or work with us so we can teach in person.
Now, what financial products are out there that are available for parents or their caregiver and their kids, for kids to learn about money?
Yeah, so it's interesting because many kids do learn from their parents about money, and there was a survey done recently that I think parents gave themselves a D when it came to what they knew about money, and kids gave themselves an A.
Yeah.
And kids were learning from the parents, so the parents worried, are we teaching the right things? So banks have material available that we will share with parents. When I teach kids, I also love to teach the parents as well, so they can have that conversation at home. So there's a lot of takeaways that we can pass out at the schools to share with them to take back to their families. Online, there's some things that we can have on our websites to be able to, tips to teach the kids, and we write blogs and videos as well.
Now, are there savings accounts or debit cards, credit cards for kids that are available?
Yeah, so almost every bank has a kids savings account. You're not going to see any fees tied to these generally. I've never seen one with a fee, because the visual for a kid is a piggy bank, right? They want to see that money in person. As we get older, we don't mind seeing the digital form of it. But we have those where kids can really start. And what we've seen from a statistical basis is kids that have a savings account in their name are quite a bit more likely to actually go to college as well. So they're out there. With credit cards, at certain ages, I will probably add my kids as an authorized user on my card to really help them build credit. I'm hesitant a little bit to teach that a whole lot, because we got to make sure the parent is responsible with the money too. The last thing we want to see is a kid's credit drained the improper way because of misuse. But it's a great opportunity to help build that credit with the child while they're at a young age, so when they do need to borrow money, it's available and at a good score.
Now, one last question. When I was a kid, I might be dating myself. Yeah. When I opened up my savings account, you had a little passport-looking book, and they actually digitally printed on there any deposit or withdrawal, so I could visually see my money grow. What do we have there for kids today for them to see their money grow?
Yeah, so we've kind of gotten away from the passbooks. I remember those as well. What we really use is the online mobile apps and online banking. So what I will do is I have all my kids' accounts on my phone, and I will monitor it so they can't see everything, but they can see theirs. And every time they put a deposit in, we show that to them. You had the conversation about insurance earlier, and talking about kids with bills. I share all of our bills with our kids, because a lot of times they understand that we go to work to make money, but really don't understand all the principles of where that money goes. So I encourage parents to have that open conversation about bills, so it doesn't happen when they get into the real world, so to speak, right? But I think showing them on a digital screen, they like iPads, they like phones already, so showing them on a mobile device is a great way to see the balance grow.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing those tips.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Hi, I'm Tawana Streeter, host of DIY DEI. Tune in on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. as I discuss diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace.
Teaching kids about money can set them up for a lifetime of financial success, whether it's through simple lessons on budgeting and saving, or more advanced concepts like investing and entrepreneurship. The key is to start early and make it fun. We hope this show has inspired you to have important conversations about money with the young people in your life. Remember, the more they learn about money now, the better prepared they will be to manage it in the future. My challenge to you is to start talking to your kids about money that is age appropriate as part of your normal daily activities, such as going to the grocery store. Also, protecting our children is every parent's top priority, and having the right insurance coverage can provide peace of mind and financial security. From renter's insurance to life insurance and beyond, we have discussed different types of insurance that can help protect your family's financial future. I hope you found this informative and helpful, and that it inspires you to take action to protect your family with what works best for your situation. Just like budgeting, there is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. If you have any questions about today's or past finance topics, please email me at kimberly@inthemoneyemail.com, and we may read your question on air. Thanks for watching, and stay safe and protected.